Emmanuel Hostin, the husband of The View host Sunny Hostin, has been accused of widespread insurance fraud, and Sunny basically admitted to it on camera.
Husband, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance, and then has to sue health insurance companies to get paid for the work that he's been trained to do.
The true sign of the apocalypse is someone that dumb has a law degree. So that makes Sunny Hostin, who thinks climate change caused the solar eclipse, the dumbest.
1. Sunny Hostin just got slapped with the legal equivalent of a Category 5 hurricane, and guess who's moonwalking through the wreckage with martinis in hand? None other than Gutfeld and Kat Timpf, who have transformed her legal fiasco into a comedic banquet. Hostin's husband is now the headliner in a $450 million fraud case, and Gutfeld and Timpf are carving up the situation like it's a golden brown Thanksgiving turkey, stuffed with subpoenas and basted in irony. The punchlines are rolling in faster than offshore wire transfers, and trust me, they're richer than whatever Sunny side schemes might be hidden in the Caymans. Buckle up, because what these two just unleashed is enough to make your lawyer cry and your moral compass short-circuit.
You look tantalizing. You know, I make fun of The View a lot, but that's only because they keep talking. Because COVID also taught Sunny Hostin how to get her groceries delivered.
3 years, that's when I discovered Instacart, and I give them a big tip because they don't always pay their people well, and it's so that's been an issue, I think, for the company. But man, you can get toiletries, you can get fire logs.
Fire logs? She had to tell the audience that she tips big because even she knows she sounds insufferable.
That fateful morning, Sunny probably strutted into the studio thinking it was business as usual. A fresh episode of The View. Another chance to sermonize from Mount Virtue. You know the drill. 1 part sanctimony, 1 part smug sigh, and an entire tasting menu of unsolicited enlightenment. The plot twist. Karma had been working overtime. Right as Sunny revved up to lecture America on justice and ethical superiority, the headlines thundered in like a divine gavel. Her husband is allegedly swimming in financial fraud deeper than the Mariana Trench. Bernie Madoff may need to send a fruit basket because this is fraud with flair, a full-blown Ponzi with panache. And just like that, Sunny's courtroom of public opinion turned into a legal house of mirrors.
Dr. Emmanuel Manny Hostin, an orthopedic surgeon and husband of The View co-host Sunny Hostin, is accused in December lawsuit fraudulently billing insurance. By the way, this is a Daily Caller story I'm reading. The lawsuit alleges Hostin knowingly provided fraudulent medical and other healthcare services in exchange for kickbacks and or compensation, and names him among nearly 200 defendants in one of New York's largest RICO cases.
And Greg and Kat. They didn't just roast her, they held a 5-star comedy feast. Gutfeld delivered his lines with the finesse of a Michelin chef flambeing a scandal. You could practically hear him licking his chops between barbs. This wasn't cable news, this was gourmet satire. Kat stared at the headline with a grin like a cat who's finally caught the canary and had time to write a memoir about it. These weren't cheap shots, this was a symphony of sarcasm conducted by people who've been keeping receipts longer than the IRS.
I just want to hit myself in the face so I can feel something. You know, it's like so boring. He's like, yeah, I like Instacart, but don't worry, I tip the poors. But, you know, Joy, you actually don't like Instacart and you do like the store. And then Joy is like, yeah, I do. I like to go to the store. I like to walk around and see what's at the store, what I do want, what I don't want. Maybe I want tuna fish. And I just...
To Kat, this wasn't a scoop. It was fate in heels. She radiated glee as Sunny's golden aura melted under the forensic spotlight of public scrutiny, revealing not an angel's halo, but a crown forged from premium-grade contradiction. Because let's get real, if hypocrisy were a designer brand, The View would have a flagship store on Fifth Avenue, and Sunny Hostin would be the platinum-tier influencer. You simply can't make a career out of wagging your finger at America's morals and then tiptoe off stage when your own house starts looking like an outtake from Boiler Room. That's not integrity, sweetheart. That's a Netflix limited series waiting to happen.
View. It's like, it's become like a medical hospital that displays human misfailure. Like, it's like here, let's look at this political oddity. You know, it's like, it really is like the left-wing equivalent of a carnival sideshow, except instead of bearded ladies and fat clowns and two-headed cows. Well, let me rephrase that. But The View is a victim of the sunk cost fallacy. You know, how can you now speak the truth and when for years you've been telling lie after lie after lie? Now you're carrying this big bag of rocks around you because it's too harmful for their ego to admit that we really were dishonest. And they could be honest. All they would have to say is, look, we hate Trump so much. We were willing to lie about Joe Biden because we felt he was preferable. We thought our lying and our cover-up was on your behalf. Just say that. You're still scum, but at least you're honest.
This wasn't just a scandal. It was a script rewrite, and Karma was the head writer. Greg joked that Sunny should roll out a new segment titled Allegedly Yours, where she preaches from her perch on Mount Virtue while ducking federal paperwork like dodgeballs. Kat, with her signature deadpan delivery, chimed in. Finally, a View storyline worth watching. If laughter is the best medicine, then Kat and Greg just opened a national pharmacy. This wasn't mean-spirited mockery. It was a full-blown renovation of The View's ivory tower, which collapsed like an IKEA bookshelf assembled with self-righteousness instead of screws. Greg didn't just dip his toe into the irony. He built a slip and slide and dared America to cannonball straight through the wreckage of Sunny's credibility. He reminded us that her moral monologues could make papal decrees seem like Snapchats.
Bitches coven finally shows me some lovin'. Yesterday on The View, yours truly was the subject of conversation. Apparently the broads have no idea who I am, or so they say. Hit it, Gladys.
They said that Gutfeld talks about you all the time.
Who is he? Really, who is he?
I don't watch the show.
He has a show.
I don't watch the
never
show.
heard of him.
Yeah.
I guess he's just obsessed with me.
No. Next, Joy's going to say she's never heard of carbs. Seriously, her denial of knowing me is as believable as her red hair. But obsession? I mean, come on, Joy. Where would you even get that idea? Like Joy Behar's face, it's looking worse and worse by the day. More full of crap than Joy Behar after a night of scotch and Taco Bell. Her being named Joy is like me being named ugly. Joy wasn't there on the show. Apparently Mondays are her days off when she feeds in the pasture. It now smells like a humid day inside Joy Behar.
Never one to leave a punchline on the table, Greg proposed a new game show format, Wheel of Ethical Contradictions. Spin to reveal today's topic, fraud, privilege, or selective outrage. Meanwhile, the behind-the-scenes at The View must have been bedlam. Picture a mashup of Succession and a PR disaster drill. Cue interns setting cue cards on fire, producers whisper screaming into earpieces, and a frantic attempt to summon Meghan Markle for distraction duty. And oh, the co-hosts. The same ones who can detect a GOP tax discrepancy from outer space suddenly became staunch advocates for privacy and healing energy, which for those unfamiliar is liberal TV code for lawyers are present, and Joy Behar isn't touching this with a 10-foot punchline. Greg and Kat watched it all unfold like it was the season finale of Scandal, except this time the fake ferns were filing lawsuits of their own.
Kat, did you ever see such a group? It's amazing how Joy and Whoopi became the smart ones.
For me, the most shocking thing about the conversation was how truly boring it was. They're like, well, the cicadas, they're cicadas. Okay, but it was like every 100 years. No, it's every 17 years. Do you know how many Emmys this show has? 31.
31 Emmys.
This show has 31. I mean, I'd hate to see the conversations that don't make it.
They knew this wasn't just Sunny's personal implosion. It was a meltdown of an entire media cathedral built on smugness. The View was no longer a talk show. It was a sanctimony factory, and the head forewoman just got hit with a federal inspection. Greg and Kat didn't just mock it, they handed America front row seats and popcorn refills. They didn't just pop the balloon of elitist double standards, they popped it, autographed the rubber, and auctioned it off as a collector's item. Gutfeld turned the whole debacle into a TED talk in sarcasm, reminding viewers that this was the same show that preaches weekly sermons about the evil empire of the political right, while failing to notice the Titanic-sized iceberg floating under their own yacht. Turns out, The View's compass doesn't point north, it points toward whatever direction avoids legal accountability.
Sausage maker Johnsonville is recalling more than 42,000 pounds of pork sausage for possible contamination with plastic fibers. Fortunately, authorities were able to track all 42,000 pounds to a single location in New York City.
And let's talk numbers. This wasn't some clerical oopsie or an IRS oops my bad. We're talking $450 million. That's not a fine. It's a Bond villain starter kit. Kat took one look at the media silence surrounding the scandal and asked the question every thinking person had. Why was this treated like a wardrobe malfunction instead of front-page scandal? If a conservative so much as used the wrong pronoun, The View would devote an entire week to moral outrage. Though when one of their own is implicated in financial fraud of blockbuster proportions, nothing. Just some awkward transitions and reruns of cooking segments. Kat cracked a smile and said, "If this were Meghan McCain, she'd already be burning at the stake in the middle of Times Square." Greg added that it was as if irony bought real estate in Manhattan and took over the producer's booth.
No, I'm also not surprised that there's one part of the video from the show yesterday that you left out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, can we roll that, please?
I don't watch the show that much, but I've seen it.
Who is that?
Who is that?
Greg Gutfeld's one of the hosts of The Five. Who, if I don't have anything nice to say, I generally don't say anything at all. I would just say this: his show should be called Kat Timpf, not Gutfeld, because she's the funny one on it.
Somebody's flirting with little Kat over here.
Well, she's the Republican one at the table, but I just think as a libertarian, I'm always looking to find common ground with other people because nobody really shares my politics. So I find some common ground in The View where she thinks I'm funny and I agree.
Greg turned the sarcasm dial so high the control board started to smoke. This wasn't punditry, it was satire ballet. No, he didn't suggest a GoFundMe for Sunny's defense. That would be too conventional. Instead, he floated the idea of a national popcorn tax, a public investment in watching elite self-righteousness go up in flames. The saga had box office appeal, a moral crusader's life turned courtroom drama, and Sunny's next career move? Forget law. Forget daytime TV. She's ready for a publishing deal, from ethics to indictments, my journey through contradiction. Meanwhile, The View opted for group hugs and vague mantras because nothing says accountability like institutional amnesia. And Kat? She was there with the final jab, reminding the world how this same panel once turned a conservative's verbal misstep into an ethics symposium.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions? Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses, regardless of skin color. People marry, they listen to each other, they have something in common with them, they share their political views. She just didn't want to upset her husband by saying her husband makes her do everything, and then she'd have to accuse him of being a racist. Because if he told her that this is what white women do, then he's a racist.
But now, $450 million. Let's talk about fashion trends. Kat suggested they rename the show The Skew, because that's what they do best. Skew reality into digestible, drama-free segments. Greg then delivered the kicker. Imagine if Kat or I were accused of a fraction of this. We'd be canceled faster than Joy Behar interrupts a sentence. And he's right. The double standard didn't just peek through, it did an acrobatic routine across the stage. Let's not pretend this is The View's first scandal either. This show has a revolving door of PR disasters, all cloaked in righteousness. But this was the piece de resistance. Gutfeld and Kat didn't just pick it apart, they plated it, served it with a side of sarcasm aioli, and handed America the check labeled "Told You So." And the brilliance of their takedown wasn't volume, it was surgical mockery. They simply shined a light, and the hypocrisy scurried like roaches at last call.
You know who just stunk up The View. The Bidens joined The View this morning for the entire hour. The audience was caught off guard, but knew something was up when they saw a dozen Secret Service agents and 2 embalmers. There were a few awkward moments, though, when a confused Joe asked if he could bid on the showcase. But was he...
And The View, still spinning like a malfunctioning merry-go-round, hoping the storm will magically drift away. Newsflash, it won't. Not as long as Gutfeld and Timpf are on the air with functioning microphones and zero chill. The real revelation isn't just the scandal, It's what it reveals about The View's ecosystem. A world where smugness is currency, accountability is outsourced, and reality is spun harder than a CNN headline. While Sunny's legal team is presumably knee-deep in crisis yoga and stress crystals, the rest of us are tuning in for the comedy. Greg and Kat didn't just critique, they obliterated, turning the moment into a full-fledged satire spectacular. The View may pretend this never happened, but the damage is permanent. Carved into the marble walls of media hypocrisy is a plaque titled Sunny Side Fraud, and no amount of lighting, contour, or virtue signaling will erase it. And you can bet your bottom sapuna that Greg and Kat will be there for the sequel, snacks, sarcasm, and all.
Oh. That's not what I read. The true sign of the apocalypse is someone that dumb has a law degree. Worse, if your name has the word sun in it, there's no excuse for not knowing how an eclipse works. But it's no surprise that Joy is the one who understands science. She's been on the science diet for years. They're turning on me. So that makes Sunny Hostin, who thinks climate change caused the solar eclipse, the dumbest of them all. Because everyone knows the moon caused the eclipse, which is controlled by The View's gravitational pull.
But now, $450 million. Let's talk about fashion trends. Kat suggested they rename the show The Skew, because that's what they do best. Skew reality into digestible, drama-free segments. Greg then delivered the kicker. Imagine if Kat or I were accused of a fraction of this. We'd be canceled faster than Joy Behar interrupts a sentence. And he's right. The double standard didn't just peek through, it did an acrobatic routine across the stage. Let's not pretend this is The View's first scandal either. This show has a revolving door of PR disasters, all cloaked in righteousness. But this was the piece de resistance. Gutfeld and Kat didn't just pick it apart, they plated it, served it with a side of sarcasm aioli, and handed America the check labeled "Told You So." And the brilliance of their takedown wasn't volume, it was surgical mockery. They simply shined a light, and the hypocrisy scurried like roaches at last call.
How many co-hosts has The View had since it first started? I've lost count. I don't know any of these people.
No, that's because they don't stick around long enough. There have been 17 since 1997. That's a lot. That's because they're women.
Oh, really?
Their hormones, they're changing their minds. I don't want to work here. Yes, I do. That's why. Women are always changing jobs every day.
Wow,
I just quit.
Direct the mail to Catherine Timpf. Not me. I disavow everything she...
But now, $450 million. Let's talk about fashion trends. Kat suggested they rename the show The Skew, because that's what they do best. Skew reality into digestible, drama-free segments. Greg then delivered the kicker. Imagine if Kat or I were accused of a fraction of this. We'd be canceled faster than Joy Behar interrupts a sentence. And he's right. The double standard didn't just peek through, it did an acrobatic routine across the stage. Let's not pretend this is The View's first scandal either. This show has a revolving door of PR disasters, all cloaked in righteousness. But this was the piece de resistance. Gutfeld and Kat didn't just pick it apart, they plated it, served it with a side of sarcasm aioli, and handed America the check labeled "Told You So." And the brilliance of their takedown wasn't volume, it was surgical mockery. They simply shined a light, and the hypocrisy scurried like roaches at last